Yeah.
Yeah, no, James. Right, good evening, everyone. This is Abby Day Molina, Chair of the Nantucket Planning and Economic Development Commission. We're meeting today, December 15th at 5 p.m. in a hybrid fashion, with some people physically present in the trailer at 131 Pleasant Street and some people virtually on Zoom. The first thing we will do is roll call, so please respond affirmatively when I call your name. Dave Iverson? You're muted.
Aye, or here, sorry.
Joe Topham? John Kitchener,
Here.
Bert Johnson. Brooke Moore. Nat Lowell,
Here.
Christina Gentleman. Here. Hillary Draper. Here. Liza Hatt. Here. Mike Mazzarelli. Here. And Abby De Molina, the chair, is here. Does anybody wanna make a motion from the people of each other?
Second.
All right, motion made by Mike, seconded by Nat. All right, John Kitchener,
Aye.
Dave Iverson,
Aye.
Nat Lowell,
Aye.
Christina John. Aye. Hillary Rainford. Aye. Liza Hatton. Here. Aye. You're also here. Mike Mazzarelli, aye. The chair also votes aye. All right, what we're gonna do next is we're gonna move into executive session to pursuant to National Law 30A, Section 21A, Reason 2, to conduct strategy sessions in preparation for negotiation with union personnel or contract negotiations with non-union personnel. And to be specific, this is the contract negotiation with T. Michael Burns for the transportation program manager position. So I don't know if the people online have to. So we need a motion to go into executive session.
And just a reminder, I sent for those of you remote, I sent around a Zoom link to participate in the executive session. It's a separate link from this one, so you'll log out of this meeting and use the link that I circulated this afternoon. And when we conclude the executive session, then you'll hop back into this Zoom meeting.
Okay, so can I have a motion to move to executive session to later reconvene in office?
So moved.
Okay, so motion by Nat, second by Mike. All right, Dave Iverson,
Aye.
John Kitchener,
Aye.
Christina Gentleman. Aye. Hillary Rainford. Aye. Liza Hatton. Aye. Mike Mazzarelli. Aye. Chair votes aye.
I vote.
Oh.
It's okay.
So you in terms of turn off because we are on live stream.
Camera and mic back on, okay? Roll call, but let's give Dave a second.
Great, you're frozen, thank you.
I hope you were reading in a car, Campbell.
Oh, no, I offered them a call.
Oh, jeez.
I didn't bring my cell, so I couldn't text you and say, I'll let you know.
Oh,
We're only just adjourned, so.
All right, David's back on, so. Good evening, everybody. I'm reconvening the open session of the Nantucket Planning and Economic Development Commission. And on the agenda, we're on item 6, which is the action and discussion items regarding the transportation program manager position and contract. And just to, I guess, summarize what happened in executive session, we had a discussion of the.
I'm sorry, did we have to do public comment or items not on the agenda?
It's after this. Also, though, you did remind me, did I need to do another roll call?
Sure.
I would.
I think so, yes.
Okay, so sorry, prior to that, I'm just gonna do another roll call, make sure everybody's here. Dave Iverson,
Here.
John Kishner,
Here.
Nat Lowell,
Yeah.
Christina Gentleman. Here. Brooke Moore. Yes, I'm here. Hillary Rayford.
Here.
Liza Hatton.
Here.
Mike Mazzarelli.
Here.
And the chair, Abby DeLuna, and also here. Okay, as I was saying, I'm just summarizing, in executive session, we had a discussion of the transportation program manager contract. We had a review of the contract terms, the authorization of employment and contract terms for T. Michael Burns, and I said that, and we had a vote to approve and authorize the chair to so I guess I will ask for a motion to so I'll ask for a motion to approve the contract terms as provided and discussed in the executive session for T. Michael Burns and an authorization of the chair to sign the contract.
So moved.
Right.
Can we just note that it is a 3-year contract and it was included with the current employees.
So authorization of the contract terms, which is a 3-year contract with T. Michael Burns and his renewal, and that was motioned by Mike and seconded by Nat. So Dave,
Aye.
John,
Aye.
Nat,
Aye.
Christina,
Fine.
Brooke,
Aye.
Hillary,
Aye.
Liza,
Aye.
Mike,
Aye.
chair votes aye. Nat.
Thank you.
I'll just say personally, we really enjoy working with you and thank you for all of your hard work. It's very much appreciated, even though, Mike is a salary employee, he has to come to these meetings which are outside of the workday, so we appreciate that. And all the work that you do, and we look forward to continuing to work with you in the future.
I appreciate you all. Thank you.
Thank you, Mike. Aye. Thanks for hanging out and hanging us. Good.
That was not very loud, but,
Golf clap.
all right, we'll move on to public comment for items not on the agenda. We use the select board to establish protocols for public comment, limiting comments to 3 minutes or less and not engaging in substantive deliberation, taking just taking comments for subsequent future action. If you're participating in the meeting as a member of the public, please ensure you're seated with the other members of the public. With your permission, you're doing so. Please leave the table and join the public, or leave the panel Zoom and join as a regular public participant as the standard procedure for qualifying boards and commissions. Is there any public comment? Yeah, or I guess to state your name and.
The trailer rules, I think, they just stand out, right? So
No, I think it just,
it might just be, you're right.
might just be for, by Campbell Sutton. My public comment has to do with the forum on Thursday. And I just wanted,
Well, that's actually.
not this part of it. And I just wanted to say, I thought it was very successful. I appreciated my brain froze. The moderators for that. I thought that was very successful. And I just wanted to thank you for providing that opportunity for people to get together and see what's being proposed and talk about it. So thank you.
Thank you, Campbell, and thank you for coming for the public forum. We appreciate it. All right, next item on the agenda is the minutes for November 17th. May. Have a motion.
So, we, thank you very much for the minutes. I think that we had some discussion at the last meeting about including more details, and making sure everyone's votes were correctly tallied, and I thought that was good. There were a few things that, I wanted to, I felt would help the minutes if they were added, and I can go through them now if it's the things, or I could just send them and we can. What would you prefer?
Why don't you send them? Sure. Yeah, I guess we'll table the minutes until, let's see. Motion by Brooke to table the minutes, second.
I'll second. I'm sorry, I thought something there.
Okay, motion by Brooke and second by Nat. Dave,
Aye.
Dawn,
Aye.
Nat,
Aye.
Christina. Aye. Brooke. Aye. Hillary. Aye. Liza.
Aye.
Mike. Aye. Chair votes aye. Okay, moving on to the next item is the approval of the annual cost of living adjustment personnel action plan for the director of planning and advisory staff.
Yeah. Discussion or just-
Well, can we have some discussion about it?
Sure. Christina.
So my first question is, I don't know, I didn't have the original contract, but I just wanted to know, what we went through before. Was there in the current contract? I don't know if this is in the thing, so. So I guess I'll just stick with that for a second.
The contract is public.
So I just, yeah, I think something. So I guess my one question was, why was the step increase, the salary change listed as step maybe? I think that is pretty.
Is this a bit with him?
Yes,
It says
that's
step
right.
increase.
Yeah.
What's the step increase?
On salary change, or how the word, and then it says the different examples, step increase, COLA, reclassification. It says
Oh.
step increase.
It's not a step increase. Maybe just been up very low, so we can correct that.
So the Leslie's contract, says that there is an annual review and we can adjust the salary, and we're the authority that adjusts the salary. I don't think there's plan an annual review for this period?
Just going back to the last comment, it says change salary wasn't selected, so it says, please explain the nature of the rate change, e.g. step increase, so it's just the different reasons, so it would be COLA in this case, is that, okay, all right, okay.
Step represents the chance to pull.
Yeah, somebody just needs to write that there.
So what are we doing about the contractual, responsibility to have an annual review?
We looked at that, I didn't call it, like, everyone getting it,
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was done in last
Well,
October. That was done last October, retroactively.
I think it was done later than that.
I mean, in 2024.
I have to see exactly when that was done. But, that was, for performance-based requests. And this is for a cost of living adjustment. And as I said on my earlier agenda, we're going to move the contracts towards, better aligning with other practices. So that, we don't run into some other issues.
So has the town manager, I mean, this has to be signed by the human resources director and presumably the.
Yes,
budget
they are
analyst.
aware of this.
Have they have approved the salary increase for Leslie specifically?
They don't have to approve it because it comes from the commission, but they are aware of this and we've discussed it. But ultimately, since the commission's the one who approves it, it isn't the town manager, but we have discussed it with them as well.
And did they said yes? Because I don't want to be put in a position of spending the town's money to apply to a contract. If this is not actually been signed by the HR director. I think if we're.
The HR doesn't make.
Well, there is a line on this personnel action form for the HR director to sign. And, past forms have been signed by either the town manager, the HR director, or Brian Lynch for that. And I think if we are going to just, be doing this with the idea that we're subsuming a lot to the town manager, this should come to us solid. That's just what I think is the right way to do it.
So there's a memo from the town that happened.
I said read
says
it.
all town, non-union personnel will receive a 4% cost of living adjustment. So I didn't receive that. The commission is now discussing it. The form has a signature for the commission, for the human resources director, and for the budget analyst. So typically, human resources director and budget analyst sign those just before they send it to the. It's not anything that's signature.
Right, so you're saying that you don't want that
You're gonna follow the standard procedure, which is that normally it would come from whatever the body is, whether it's our commission or whoever, and then it would be submitted, and that's the standard way it's done, so we're not trying to deviate from the standard procedure.
Dave has his hand up.
Dave?
Yeah, I just, and it is my understanding that COLA's, Leslie's COLA is not a performance-based raise. This is a cost of living raise. And if it's time for a performance review, which I don't remember when the last time it was, then we should do a performance review, but a COLA is not based on the performance review. It is a cost of living increase. And I really don't think it's fair for that to be debated, in all honesty, by the commission. I think that we all know how hard and expensive it is to live on Nantucket. I think, and how hard it is to keep good staff and employees. And I don't think this should be debated. I think that as Mike and Leslie both deserve a cost of living increase. And if we start talking raises, then we start talking performance reviews. But I think we do that at that time and not now. Thank you.
Just point of clarification based off of what he's saying and based on how you're saying that you want to align with the town, but then there's these contracts. Is it my understanding, am I correct to assume or understand that the planning director will get a cost of living, a COLA raise in July, and then above and beyond that, there'll be a performance-based raise? So there'll be 2 raises a year?
Well, the
If we decide as a group that the performance.
I don't think typically there's always a performance-based raise, but if there is, yes, it would be based, it would be done. The review is done and it would be based on that. So yeah, and when I spoke with other commissions, because for instance, I spoke with the water commission to understand how they do it. What they explained to me is that they do performance usually at the end of the year. And then they have the cost of living increase in July. So usually they typically do it twice. They have their raises twice a year. So there's the cost of living, a pretty increase that applies to everybody. And then they have performance, done at the end of the year. So that's how they do it. So I think that that would be a good way for us to align with that process. But yes, it would be separate again.
So then just to follow up on that, that's clear, thank you. And can you just next meeting return with when your last review was and when it's going to be scheduled so we can have it on a video schedule? So I just also want to say for the record, the memo in this packet from our town manager, Libby Gibson, dated May 29th, 2025, about the COLA for non-union personnel does not apply to contract personnel. And not all contract personnel were given variable COLAs. It's a percentage of the salary. And for employees who are, outside of public safety within the top 3 highly paid employees for the town, they're not getting automatic COLAs. That is a true statement. Now, that may have been visited and I'm not hearing that. I'm hearing that the HR is aware. I haven't heard that HR has said, yes, we are absolutely on board with an increase from 188,000 to 195,520, which is a 7,520. I just haven't heard that from the street. And I think in a time when we're saying, we're spending the town's money, we want to be in step with HR, we want to be aligned with town policies, we should have a memo saying that, we approve this before our board is asked to approve it. I think that is the financially prudent and conservative and responsible thing to do. And it's nothing personal. I think Leslie's, well, we don't have employment goals for Leslie that I'm aware of, but I think Leslie's very good at what she does. It's not personal. It's just an issue of when we're spending the town's money. And it's also related to, memos that I have about the way we've handed out past raises, which have not been in line with how we should be doing things in the town, that I have in writing. So I can't support this raise until I see the human resources director's signature on this rate, on this form. That's my personal view.
So, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but those seem like procedural issues to go back to the town.
Correct. Leslie, as Leslie already pointed out, there's a way that this process is normally done. If there is a desire to deviate from that, that's something different, but as of now, we recommend following the process as it exists and if, you know, the process changes, that's a different discussion, but I think the goal is again to align with the town and the way things are, to follow different, so.
So in essence, this would be retroactive, and then we would be doing it again in 6 months in advance of July 1st, 2026.
It would be.
Or after the COLA is identified.
Correct.
then we would do it again.
Correct. And then it would be aligning going forward. And the goal would be theoretically in the contract to make sure that that language is again consistent with how the town does it, you know, again, making sure that we're aligning on their policy.
Thanks, Ed. My contract was up for renewal. It expires on July 1st. So we'll have some time to talk about that. I just have a quick question because I got confused with so it says non-union workers, right? So I assume that's anyone that's not unionized, right? But then came in the question about that if you're contractual, are you non-union?
Yes,
Okay, sorry, I just.
no,
That's very confusing there, and I was just trying to straighten that piece out.
no, that's, thank you. Any other questions? I'll ask for Richard.
Motion to approve the COLA as outlined in our packet.
Second.
Okay, motion by Mike, second by Liza. Dave,
Aye.
yeah,
All right.
Christina, John,
Aye.
Brooke, Hillary,
No,
Liza,
Aye.
Mike.
Aye.
Here votes out. Thank you all. Congratulations. Thank you for all your hard work. Sorry, Russ. I've been increasing a lot this year. Um. Next item on the agenda is the transportation program manager update. So Michael, we'll get back to you.
Sure, I think the only item here is to talk about the Transportation Public Access Advisory Committee. And as it was approved by the select board on December 3rd, including a lot of the recommendations approved by this committee. I believe the step is to have the NPDC appoint 2 members or appointed representatives of this committee. So if the commission wanted to make those 2 appointments, we can share that with the town manager and add that to the appointment to be made by the Commission on Disability. So the town manager may appoint 6 additional at-large members who will serve 3-year terms. So I guess we're looking for 2 appointed members or 2 representative or 2 members of the commission to serve on TPAC, or for you to appoint 2 other representatives.
Well, no, I don't think Joe is here, but I think.
Joe's online,
Is
sorry,
he?
he's phoned in,
He's phoned in.
yeah, so,
1990.
Yeah.
yeah,
Oh,
he's on the phone.
It's a little thing.
So,
Now we have an owl.
one question, are they annual, are they serving annual terms?
Yes.
Okay, because I think that should go
Well-
in the,
Yeah.
it says on the membership 6 at large for 3-year terms, but then it doesn't say 2 NPDC, it should say for 1-year terms. And 1 commissioner deferred for 1-year term. Right.
And the reason for that is the makeup of this commission could change.
Yeah.
So we could just reappoint the same people.
Okay.
These annual. Say for
Is that why you did it that
because-
way?
Yeah,
Yeah,
because.
all right,
Well,
that makes
if you
sense.
appoint me to a 3-year term on something, now we have 2 years left in the term, and I.
Similar to what we do with the at-large members now, sorry,
Yeah.
I'm just
Yeah.
getting my head around this, I didn't think of that. I'm thinking of it right away committee currently is staggered 3 for everybody, and this makes sense now. I see what you're doing there.
Unlike my other comments,
missed
it's
that.
not controversial.
happens the same way on the Pennsylvania.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
exactly. I wasn't thinking of that one thing. I was thinking of the current system, and I thought it might have been because of what we did with BPAC, but BPAC was just everybody at the same time before, how we did it. So
So,
this makes sense.
Joe has indicated interest in,
Me,
Yeah.
I'd love to be back on this, stay on this, whatever it is.
is there a motion to, I guess, recommend Joe and Nat as our members to TPAC?
So moved.
B2, okay, Brooke second, okay. Motion by Dave and second by Brooke to nominate Joe and Nat to serve on TPAC.
No, did you say earlier?
I'm on the right of way committee,
Gotcha.
and so the right of way committee is.
Yeah, I got it.
Yeah, we don't have to go any further.
Okay, okay.
We're not gonna rehash this. All right, Dave, on your motion,
Aye.
John,
Aye.
Nat,
Aye, thank you.
Christina, aye, Brooke, aye, Hillary,
Aye.
Liza,
Hi.
Mike, aye. The chair votes aye. Congrats.
Joe.
Oh, Joe,
Very good.
Joe, do you vote? He's on the phone, okay.
How's that, yeah?
You just
You don't find
Yeah.
anything.
I think
Okay.
I think
You
you're
don't-
star 9 to unmute Joe.
So, Mike, this is Rick.
If not,
This-
well, Congrats, Joe and Nat, and I think, Mike, you have your marching orders, and I know, just so people know, I've heard from a bunch of the BPAC members that they're interested, so I've sent Mike the names of everybody who's indicated interest. So they made sure that they're gonna be included in the upcoming process whenever that happens. So we're just making sure to keep them in the loop.
Okay,
Okay,
thank you.
Next item on the agenda, the ongoing enabling legislation update. The first part is overview and discussion of the public forum held on Thursday, December 11th. And so, I don't know. Megan or Leslie. Right. Leslie, I'll kick it over to Leslie.
All right, maybe, more people can chime in, I don't know if there should be another discussion, because so many of us, maybe everyone is there. December 11th, we checked it in, I mean, I think we had a really good turnout, I was really pleased with. The number of people that came and she commented on, the proposals. I thought the consultants did a really good job facilitating and moderating the discussion. I thought it was very lively, and it seems like everybody, really had a chance to speak. I didn't really take away any, I guess, present changes that people were proposing. The option of elected or appointed definitely came up. But other than that, seems like mostly people were in favor of the general direction. There were some suggestions about adding, some additional language into the description. I mean, I think it's really important that we remember that this is legislation, so it needs to be broad. So that it can cover, a wide range of activities and a wide range of initiatives. So that, the commission can, engage in the work that, they choose to engage in and not be, put to like a really narrow scope. So, that was sort of my takeaway, but anyone else? Yeah, I'll do it there, so. Megan, did you have anything else to add?
No, I do have some stuff about a conversation that I've had with the husband.
I forgot to mention that.
Yes.
Yes.
Oh, that's.
We're talking about two different things.
Okay, I think so, because I don't think, I had a chance to talk to Abby about it, I don't know if this will back to you, we had a lot going on in the last hour of what's happening.
Well, maybe, I don't know when to bring it up, so I'll just bring it up now. At the forum, a discrepancy did come up. His report brought it up about, did the commission vote on a housing authority seat, or did the commission vote on a housing trust seat? I think the groups may be a little bit divided on what actually happened. I mean, I do remember there's a lot of back and forth about one group or the other. There was some discussion about the fact that the commission appoints to the housing trust. So why would the housing trust appoint someone to the commission? So I think it would probably be best, even though we do have minutes from the meeting, but we have other documents that say something different for the commission tonight, to just revisit that and make sure that we have clear direction on which group it is. And we talked to Christie, and Christie, Faratella, the housing director, did voice this at the meeting, but she really recommends that the seat be the Affordable Housing Trust.
And Megan, I think a little more specific.
And the reason being, and Christie, I see her on as a attendee, I don't know if she's able to speak to this or not, but, you know, in our conversation, we did agree that, you know, perhaps it would be counterproductive for the commission to appoint to the housing trust and then have the housing trust be the housing sector appointing authority to the commission, like it just kind of caused a round and round situation. And we discussed perhaps updating the Affordable Housing Trust membership to be a planning board member instead of a planning commission member. A lot of things that come up in the Affordable Housing Trust related projects that really in the end require special permits and some layer of zoning review. So I think it would be helpful to have a planning board member on that seat. In the past couple of go-arounds, it's just so happened to be an MPMEDC rep that also serves as a planning board rep. But we have Abby, who is an alternate on the planning board. Prior to that was Dave. So I think moving forward, that would be helpful to guarantee that it's a planning board member, and then that would eliminate the round and round of the appointment of both of us pointing to each other's organization. But Christie does have her mandates to.
Yeah. Christie, the floor is yours.
Hi, thank you. And not to reiterate everything that Meg just said, but just wanted to concur that talking with other housing advocates, we felt that the Affordable Housing Trust was the best person to kind of organize and be the representative on the Planning Commission, and that we could look at our declaration of trust, which we believe is just a simple town meeting vote to change the makeup of the trust board. But we have town council looking into that, and the trust could explore that as well. But I do think it would be the best option to have somebody from the Affordable Housing Trust be either them on the planning commission or their appointee. So thank you.
Thank you, Christie. Yes.
I remember the discussion. I don't remember it going to housing authority. I remember discussing about housing authority, and I don't remember that any discussion about the circularity of the appointments at all, but maybe that I'm misleading it. So, that aside.
Yeah, I don't think it was discussed. I think maybe staff identified the issue after the fact. And that was more why there was the confusion, because there's the memo in the packet, but it's dated after our meeting, so I think that staff may have. But again, I think the important thing is, let's just all make sure we're all on the same page. It seems, I think most people seem to be in agreement, so I don't know, this will be a controversial.
I feel strongly it should be important housing trust, and I think the correction on that appointment, and I love the idea of being a fully work person on the trust. I think this comprehensively makes a lot of sense. And, you know, for the record, the reason for it to be the Affordable Housing Trust is it is now the central guiding organization in the long-term strategy and planning for solving the housing crisis on Nantucket. The Housing Authority and Housing Nantucket are a component of that, and they have been a very important component, but it's much more centralized, and certainly the funding is centralized under the Affordable Housing Trust today that it wasn't when this was created. So I think the effectiveness and the centrality of the role of the Housing Trust is great.
I agree, and I think it's also important to remember, since these are sector-based appointments, like if there happened to be a fantastic person on the Housing Authority, even though the Housing Trust is the appointing body, that it's still open to, you know, the best person. So I think that I agree with you. The organization has the best like finger on the pulse is the Housing Trust, but I think that having the flexibility of being sector appointments is really important for us to remember, not just for this, for housing, but I think for all of the different appointments, because it's not just about who's doing the appointment, but it's about making sure that, again, we're keeping it as broad as possible so that we can allow the best, most qualified person to be yeah, best, most qualified available person. Okay.
Yeah. So on the point about it being as broad as possible, so some new language has shown up in this draft that we got, both in our packet and also the follow-up draft from PP Law. The commission members shall be legal residents of Nantucket County and shall serve without compensation. Obviously they're serving without compensation, but the residency requirement is new. Where did that idea come from? Like that's new, it's not something we talked about, and it does limit the potential of people. So where did that come from?
I can explain that, but I thought we would go through some of the suggestions because some of them were no longer recommended to move forward with. But I can address that one, it's the first one, actually. I was looking through the Land Bank Act and some of these comments came straight from their act. So the Land Bank Act has that they shall be legal residents of Nantucket County and shall serve without compensation. So I thought that was worth discussion of the meeting. And if you all don't want to do that, that's fine. But it was something that I saw and wanted to put that for discussion.
It caught my eye, that was something I was gonna ask about where did it come from? And I just think that it's adding more, constraints than it wasn't in our original language, so I didn't really expect to have, like, getting down into those kind of discussions tonight. I think there's like the questions and kind of going back to where you started with the meeting, and things that came out of the public forum. I just have 3 points. So I don't know where you want to go with this conversation.
Well, technically, the first item is to talk about the forum, and then we can talk about the updates to the meeting association. With your forum comments, that'd be great. That'd be good.
I definitely heard, which we have been talking about, is public outreach, and you know that one can go back and forth about, you know, well, we have the open meetings and you can come to those, but I think that that was a prime example of having a public outreach and it being much more successful than just these meetings. I would feel it was very, very unfortunate that it was in December and not sooner, so that we're not, I feel very pressured right now for making changes to this and absorbing those public comments into and incorporating them into our act or what we're going to propose. But I thought it was very successful. That's one other thing, but I think you talked about it on the affordable housing trust, and at some point I'll make that mention in the discussion, but we can continue on with the forum conversation first.
Thank you, Monica. Building on what Christina said as well about that was the same thing I heard was people wanting to participate or not feeling that they have a chance to participate, even though the meetings are public. I get it, and everybody follows the schedule, but I was thinking, especially for some of those local groups like Nantucket, and whatever other group pops up, we should invite them to when we do, like after the holidays, when we Zoom our guest speakers. I think it would be good to give them one, I mean, let them all know about it and put that in.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea. I do feel like the guest speakers has helped broaden it a little bit. And so I think that's a great idea.
Better understand, you know, some of the issues that they have as well.
Liza?
I think that it was, I think very informative for the public that participated. And it was nice to see so many people there and on Zoom. I know that it wasn't that many people, but it was a pretty good showing considering that it was in the morning in December. I thought the moderators were great and really helped answer a lot of questions objectively and explain what we do and our purpose. And one of the things about outreach that you had mentioned was maybe presenting to the select board once a year. And I feel like that, like what Christy does with the Affordable Housing Trust, doing something like that, since the select board meetings are well attended. I feel like that would be a good way to get more visibility.
That's a great idea. Any other, John has his hand raised. John?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Yeah, I thought the moderators did a really good job, and I thought, you know, the overwhelming majority of the questions were good and got answered, you know, pretty well too. So, you know, I'm not sure. Megan, I think, is going to tell us eventually, or tell us what the actual number of participants were. But however many it was, you know, I thought it was good. I still think that, though, and I don't want to broaden this, but this might be my moment to say it, that I do think going to town meeting with two competing articles is not our commission's finest hours. I think voters are going to be confused on the day. We all know what town meeting floor looks like and how simple things can get complicated. And this is complicated to begin with. So, you know, I have not given up hope that we will somehow get to a harmonized article before town meeting. And I just urge all of us to look for a way to get a mediation effort going again. And, you know, not in the spotlight perhaps, but, you know, I think we can all take a lesson from Dave Iverson and, you know, his mission on the STR article. And I think it's going to need a little bit of that. But I really hope that we can get to town meeting with one article, because really the differences are not that great. And you know, I'm not going to get drawn into who compromised on what, but where we're at is most people would say, well, this doesn't look like it's, you know, they're a million miles away from each other. So, you know, that's just my wish, Madam Chair, that we, all of us as leaders, try to find a way to get to one article. Thank you.
Thank you. Dave?
Thank you, Madam Chair. And I don't want to disappoint my good friend John. But I continue to be a little frustrated by this process. You know, I think we as a board, and albeit the makeup was a little different then, but we voted to give deference to a competing article, to let that article go through the process and to hold our article back. And although, you know, admittedly, we did argue against it, the competing article at town meeting floor and at the state level, we still didn't put in a competing article against it. And we decided as a board to let that article go through the process, and then we would bring our article forward. And I'm just a little bit frustrated that now we are at the point where we as a board voted on giving deference to the other article, and I think it was pretty close to unanimous. But then we also voted almost unanimously to bring forward our own legislation if that article failed. And I feel that that's where we are here. And I have a really hard time believing that we're going to come to an understanding and find a unified article. And I just strongly encourage the author of the competing article to give this board the same deference that she received from from the board as it stands, and to let our article go through the process. And if that fails as well, then maybe it's time to really sit down and try to grind away at it. But I just don't see any other path, unfortunately, and I'm just really frustrated because I feel we're not given the same deference that we had given the proponent for the competing article. So, and I'm not trying to start a fight here. I'm just frustrated at the process. Thank you.
Just quickly as a member of the public. I would just like to remind everyone that the citizens did pass the competing article, number one, but number two, Chris even said at the forum that they've had that housing transfer fee has been at the state for almost 10 years, and that keeps getting kicked back at the state. So just to Dave's point there, but I also would just like to say that I think it's really important if you're bringing an article forward, it would be really nice to have something that the voters will support. That's all.
Yeah, I just,
Yeah.
I am just stop. This is like the biggest nothing we've ever discussed on this. This is like wicked easy. And we've made it, it has been made into something that it is. Now, I want to say something, comment on what Dana said. And that gentleman at the meeting, at the Nantucket Inn in the middle, I don't know who that was, that young guy stood up a couple times. Who was that? He had his finger on the thing.
Oh,
I don't know who that guy is.
Dylan from the Affordable Housing Trust.
Oh, okay.
He's the deputy.
Yeah.
housing
Listen, sorry, I don't know these people, I guess, but whatever. That's okay. So he had some good questions. And his question about the land bank, I figured out, it took me a couple days to figure out what he was talking about. You know what he was thinking when he asked that question? I mean, he didn't understand why the land bank was on the list, because in their eyes, land bank's fine. Don't bother with them, leave them alone. And it's like, that has nothing to do with this appointment. This appointment is about collaboration with different entities on Nantucket. It has nothing to do with changing anything to do with the land bank. You see what I mean? Like that, I think that's what he was alluding to a little bit. But back to this whole housekeeping thing. This started in 2021, I think it was. And one of the reasons that we wanted to change things is to keep up with Nantucket's new stuff. Like we just talked about the housing authority. Housing authority's been around a long time. That was the 40B state agency. I mean, that's what they are, okay? Or were, or, people considered that. They've always had the seat because they were the only housing entity we had. We didn't have all these other entities then. So they were just, it was Penny's still on that, and she's on the housing trust too. Like they're not competing, it's just a different entity. Updating, like I'm in agreement with removing 2 planning board members. I'm even in, and this is the part that bothers me the most. I don't want to make 13 leave a number, but that's probably the right thing. When you look at all the different moving parts. The odd number gotta be an odd number. That's one of the reasons why we did the thing with the DPW. There's other things with the DPW that people don't know. That always gets brought up as a negative. No, Jeff Follett never came to me. Mohammed was coming to me. And I know you know this because you were here and nobody else was here then, but that's the truth. Then it became this whole ex officio thing where they're already invited as normal for them to come to these meetings, like they are with the right-of-way committee and the bike committee or whatever. They were all part of it. And that's the reason that happened, because you had to have a specific person, and that specific member wasn't showing up, and a designee was showing up, and it was just the right thing to do at that time. There wasn't any other reason for that other than the odd number issue. I just feel that the public, again, on Nantucket, does not understand each entity's positions, their roles in the town. I mean, if you ask the public, what's the NHC and the HDC, there would be mass confusion with the answer. It's just the way it is. On the vineyard, everybody knows what the vineyard commission is. Because the other planning boards, there's 6 of them. So there's no like weird, hey, what are they doing? They know who the vineyard commission is. There's no question about it. So I agree with what Dave said, but I'm adding to that by saying keeping it simple and not trying to make the planning commission into the new town council form of government or some other thing that it's not, isn't right to make the planning commission into something that it isn't. And it's important to keep the state satisfied with what we're doing here, because this entity, this body sitting here right now matters to the state. And it matters for Nantucket. We get a lot of funding. We have a lot of mojo with the state with certain issues that come up, like the speed issue, the boats, which would have shut the island down. We'd be closed if we had to go 10 knots. Closed. That's it. People, maybe there's some people here that want it to be closed. Well, it would have been closed, I'd say that. So we need the state to be happy with what we're doing. For all the other moving parts that people can't see. This is not the planning board. This is not the select board. This is not the Concom. This is not the land bank. This is not ZBA. Okay? So as far as the appointment situation goes, that's a non-starter, having elected at-large members, in my opinion. Because those are starting entry-level positions for people that are getting started in town government, which is what I did. And the last thing you want to do is be pulling papers and going through all of that with bank accounts and all of that stuff for this position that is not worthy of that, like the ZBA, Airport Commission, Concom, which has lots of power, and FinCom is all appointed. And nobody ever says a word. So thank you.
Christina. I'd like to build a little bit on what Dave and Nat have just said. I am equally frustrated with this commission for not listening to the town meeting and the people who signed the people who signed for the other proponent citizens. I think we need to listen to the public, and as much as we might have very rational reasons for everything that we've decided, the bottom line is I hear Jovi saying, and she's right. If we put 2 articles to the town meeting, 1, it confuses everybody. 2, it sends the wrong message to the state. And I think we fail as a commission. And I think no matter putting all differences aside, as far as how you feel about elected or appointed, at the end of the day, I think it has to become a compromise. I think we have to sit down and come up with, there's going to be things we don't like, there's things that the proponent doesn't like, but we owe it to the public to come up with 1 article. And that's it.
Good.
Thank you. So I think it's important to remember that the special act creating this commission was created by the voters of Nantucket, and specifically the town meeting voters, because town meeting is the legislature. And it is within the purview of town meeting to request changes to any special act. Town meeting has changed the HDC special act in the past. Town meeting changes the town charter. So it is absolutely a legitimate direction, and town meeting did ask for these changes. Whatever changes happen, it will happen because town meeting asks for it. It is a true statement that both the petition, the home rule petition that is in our packet today, or, proposed by KP Law that was emailed around, and the citizens petition are both requesting changes to this commission. So there's not disagreement that some different mix of people, and maybe some revisiting of the mission would, or, the priorities would benefit the community. The challenge that Christina, I think, is highlighting, and that I also agree with, is that we had a public forum. Everyone at that forum was somebody who has been either, a stakeholder serving on a board, or someone who is a town meeting voter, like a really involved town meeting voter. So I thought it was a highly effective forum for the petitioners who want change, and the commission who has wanted a different type of change, to actually be in a room together with kind of a mediator. But there was a lot of feedback given to this commission. I gave feedback in writing. I asked for it to be in the packet. It was not put in the packet. Feedback was given orally in testimony, and we haven't once talked about any of that feedback. So I think it is extremely unlikely that the framework that this commission has passed is going to pass at town meeting, because there are things that just do not make sense. And the forum last week was the very first time I, or anyone else who wants the citizens petition, has had the opportunity to even present that to this commission. And it's just a little concerning for me to hear, from our planning director that, not much came up. I think a lot came up. And there was a lot of specific feedback, and I'd like to hear why those requests are bad ideas and you guys don't want to change. Or you reject it. I mean, because those are the arguments that are going to have to be made on town meeting floor. And I also just want to say that the warrant is still open. The warrant has not closed. The warrant will close on the 21st of January. I think this petition went in this year with like 22 signatures or something like that. All of those people could get together in a room and decide to withdraw the petition. We could decide to make changes to the petition. I cannot do that on my own, but that can be done. But I don't think that all of those people who have signed these petitions and who are universally dissatisfied with the fact that we haven't finished a master plan and it's been, 16 years. They're dissatisfied with the way we're planning. They're dissatisfied with lack of goals. I don't think they're just going to say, oh, well, too bad it didn't pass at the state. Let's do this other thing. It's certainly not until the specific complaints about the elements of this plan that are problematic are not addressed fully.
Dave?
My head is going to blow off my shoulders. We continue to conflate the commission with who's responsible for the master plan. It's simply not the commission's responsibility. And this is part of the way this has been sold to the community. And I think it's wholly unfair and not true. It was the decision of this commission to broaden the community engagement in this commission, to open it up to more people, to make it more accessible to the community. And we're selling people on a new commission based on the master plan not being done. That is completely wrong. We went about on this adventure to broaden the commission's membership in the community and make it accessible. We're fighting now with the proponent over elected seats, which in my humble opinion goes against everything that makes this board more accessible to people. There are not a lot of people on this island that can afford to spend a large amount of money on running for office, putting time aside. If this is truly about the community, it's truly about making this board more accessible to the community and not filling their heads with, oh, the master plan isn't done, so the commission hasn't done their job. Well, statutorily, the master plan's responsibility is the planning board. This commission is not the planning board. And I'm so frustrated. I feel like I'm going to explode. And I'm sorry. Thank you.
Liza, sorry, Campbell, actually, as a member of the public, really, you should let the commissioners debate first and then the public reason, just so you understand that that's normally how it's done. Liza?
As a new commissioner who is not here for revamping the makeup of the commission, I am supportive of the article that we have before us because I feel like it expands the membership, it makes it more inclusive. It changes the appointment process so that the select board appoints the members, which I think is a fatal flaw of having your own commission appoint your own commissioners. So I think that's addressed. I think that making positions elected inherently makes them exclusive and caters only to people who have the luxury of time available to run for office, open accounts, and do something that's extremely intimidating. You make it inclusive by allowing people to be appointed. So if we want to shut it off so that only a certain segment of our population can take part, I think that we have elected positions within this makeup. So you have select board members, you have land bank members, those are all elected. And so I feel like we do have elected members and we have planning board members who are elected. So I feel like this is a good compromise and it's getting rid of the election piece, which is you shouldn't have elected positions for an advisory board. It doesn't make sense. What is the platform you're running on?
Can I ask one question? Is there any appetite from this commission to sit down with the proponent of the other article and try to hash out whatever it is, and without getting into whether elected's right or whatever, without having that conversation, is there any appetite, or is it the preference of those four to go to town meeting with two articles?
Well, I think that's not really a fair question because when this commission voted to move forward with its legislation, there weren't two articles, there was our article moving forward. So I think the commission, I'm speaking for myself, I think we would prefer our article move forward as we signaled in November of 2024, and that town meeting can vote on it. And I think as Dave pointed out, if it is not successful, then that would be the time to talk about different articles. But I don't think that anybody wants to go for two, but I also think that there are people who think we made it clear a long time ago that we were planning on bringing this article once the other process.
Just a quick point of order. You would have to have, because I did have an article withdrawn, you actually have to have the signature of all the people that signed to have that citizens petition on notice. So I just want to
Right.
bring that up because it's definitely not the decision of just one individual. So just.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah. John,
You're muted, John.
I heard your opinion, Madam Chair, and respect that, but could we put Christina's question to the board though, or to the commission?
yeah, if someone wants to make a motion.
Motion, I think it's going around.
The conversation.
Individual comment. That
Um,
was your opinion.
yeah, I think you're right. That's how I took it.
I guess I'll let everybody go and then I'll give mine. I'll just go around the room. So Mike, would you want to?
I don't see, I'm in agreement with Dave that we gave deference to the article in the past and I just see the differences of wearing. So.
Brooke?
I agree. I mean, I think, I think I joined well into the process, but, it felt to me like as a group, we made some compromises along the way, and what's left are things that are pretty fundamental, and I think the elected pieces. So I would say if the proponent is at least willing to talk about even the elected piece, I might be interested in a conversation, but if that's a non-starter for the proponent, then no. Because that's a hard no for me.
Yeah, so I would like to have some type of conversation with the proponent and the petitioners to have that question answered, because I think the assuming that the answer to right now is not, I think that we should try everything we can.
Okay, Hillary.
Yeah, I just want to clarify that it would be with the petitioners. It's not, like, I don't speak for everybody. But I think that we can have a discussion with the petitioners.
Okay, Nat.
How many of,
There-
what,
Nat,
what do
it's
you
your
say
turn, Nat.
petitions? Are you like 261 people?
No.
What are we talking about?
As I said, I
Making
think
it sound like we're at like a camp. Like, what do you mean? By petitioners?
I wasn't finished with my comment, Abby.
Well,
I
but
just-
you're going
Okay.
off, I want to make sure we're staying on topic. The real question was whether or not people were willing. So it's a yes or no, really, and that's it. Like, I don't think we need to
Well,
necessarily.
okay, my
Your answer is yeah.
Yes.
Okay,
But
Nat, your
it's
answer.
not just me. I just want to make that clear.
Okay, understood.
It's
Nat, you're.
you, Kelly. You're
It
running
is
the show.
not,
All right, you are running the
Okay,
show.
Nat, just yes or no.
Ridiculous. So I agree with what Brooke said as far as the elected part is a non-starter issue. The CLG, I mean, I learned a lot about what that even is during this process. And you know, what the technical term for this, and it does include those specifics. But that is, I'm willing to let that one go. Okay, and I think we've already talked about that.
All right,
But
Are you willing to talk?
yes, but I'm just going through the hit list because it's pretty simple. It's all the same stuff we've been talking about. Nothing's changed. As far as the 2 planning board members versus 3. And the quorum issue that was brought up, I don't think that's an issue because it's not the same board that's meeting. And we would have already had that for the last, since 1973. If that was the case, we'd have to have called the meeting of the planning board every single time we had one of these meetings. So I don't believe that that's anything. As far as what was the other one? Term limits, I mean, okay. The problem with that is what happened at that forum at Nantucket. People were very confused about, well, you've got elected people on there now. Yeah, but they're from somewhere else. Like the confusion of how this is made, how this board, this commission is made up of different boards and commissions on Nantucket and at large is confusing if you don't know anything. You'd have to get like a kind of a map.
I guess,
You know?
Point of order,
yeah.
Yeah.
it feels like we're having.
The meeting now?
the
Okay,
meeting.
all right,
All we're
okay.
asking is, are we willing to have a meeting?
yes.
So
Have
your
this
answer,
conversation?
yes,
Yes.
is this yes,
Yes.
Liza?
I feel similarly to Brooke and Nat, where I'm willing to compromise, but like the election piece is just like a non-starter for me. And if we're going to have term limits, it should be like, we should start with the select board. I don't know why we're doing it here. But like, I just want to make it more diverse and more inclusive so that more people can take. So that's my purpose.
John?
Yeah, I would definitely vote yes for another round of conversation for 2 reasons, Madam Chair. One is that, like a lot, yes, we've had a lot of conversations before on this, but like a lot of things, you know, now we're down to the wire. So, you know, one last shot at compromise and mediation is worth it now that we are this close to the town meeting. And the second thing is, and I said this once before, I'm not going to go through them all, but the gap is not a mile wide. It's just not. It just needs a little bit of goodwill on all sides to close it. It is not a mile wide. So yeah, I would welcome one more shot at this.
Dave,
You're muted.
Yes.
all right, I think everyone's, if there is.
Can I,
And does Joe have a say?
Oh, Joe.
can Joe talk? Can we hear him somehow? I mean, I feel like we're in the,
Yes, I'm new. I think it's *9, Joe.
oh. Okay. Thanks. Something great.
Decades ago when they used it.
Airport parking lot, couldn't get to the steamship meeting, I'm in the parking lot talking on meeting. What God.
Yeah, you may.
Here's my suggestion. That we schedule a special meeting event to discuss compromise on the enabling legislation. And that we identify an independent facilitator. For that meeting.
Okay.
Because I think.
I couldn't quite hear that, Brooke. Could you just say it again?
Brooke made a motion to have a separate special meeting to discuss, whether or not there's a compromise, and she wanted there to be an independent facilitator.
And what's the point of it? Is that just the commission or the commission and the, proponent?
Well, obviously it has to be.
I just wanted to make sure that was clear.
Whoever,
Okay.
whoever Hillary
Has to be.
says needs to be there to
Okay.
get. Yeah, and by the way, there are two ways for this. It can go on the warrant as written, and the proponent can change their motion to have a motion to not adopt.
Right.
Yeah.
So we're not tied to the warrant. I mean, ideally, we could come to a compromise and it wouldn't go on the warrant at all, right? Because the proponent would get every citizen who signed it to agree to withdraw it, because we arrived at a compromise that everyone agrees to. But the alternative is, if we don't get to that compromise by January 21st, the citizens can change that, they can come to town meeting with a different motion, a motion not to adopt and to accept.
Yeah. And anyone can do that, at town meeting.
Yeah, or offer amendments
Or
to ours,
amend
yeah,
or anything.
so
And
it's a
we'll-
little more
There
complicated.
could be could be
Okay,
amended.
is
as
there a
well.
second on the motion?
Second.
Second,
I'd like to just offer some discussion on the motion, Abby, which is the statement from Dave, the impassioned statement from Dave, who said his head is exploding because, the interest seems to be misunderstanding the function of this commission.
Okay, point of order, that is not on the motion. The motion is whether or not we are going to have a special meeting with an independent facilitator to discuss this, and I'm sorry, but what you're talking about is not discussing whether or not we should. have that
I'm
special
offering some perspective that I think will help people understand whether or not that's going to be.
meeting. Is it gonna
successful.
change whether or not people are voting yes or no for the motion?
I am offering a perspective that I think will help people understand whether or not it will be successful.
We got a crystal
Yeah,
ball
that's
here.
not, that's.
Okay, then I'd like to make the comment after the vote then.
Fine, that's fine. So the motion was made by Brooke, it was seconded by Christina. Brooke. Aye. Mike. Aye. Christina. Aye. Hillary.
Aye.
Nat.
Aye.
Liza.
Aye.
John.
aye.
Dave.
Aye.
Chair votes aye.
Okay,
You
can I
wanted
proceed?
to make some.
Madam Chair, just a quick comment. As far as a mediator, are we is this a good time to give out names, or would you prefer we do
And
that
any
separately?
suggestions we have to staff?
Okay,
So may I proceed? Thank you. So what I'm inclined to do is actually get the people who signed the petition and anybody else who wants to comment together and listen to them. So whenever this is scheduled, I'd like it to be enough time so that, you know, maybe we can do that right at the beginning of January. Secondly, the comment that this commission is not responsible for master planning. I think the whole principle of everything that we're discussing is about planning functions on Nantucket. How are we planning for the future of the island? This commission is absolutely intertwined in a planning function. It is a planning commission. Dave, I don't know if I sent you all of those newsletters from the NPDC and all the article clippings from the NPDC and all the past master plans from the NPDC. But it is a true statement that every master plan that Nantucket has ever done, including the 2009 master plan, was steered by this commission and then accepted by town meeting. And we actually have a statement in the plan that it is considered statutorily a master plan for the purposes of the Commonwealth. And it was accepted by the planning board by virtue of the planning board being part of this commission. There wasn't this distinction. And I think these distinctions have come up over time. And over the past 10, 15 years, this commission has faded in its responsibilities. And that is actually fundamental to what the petitioners are seeking, because as a regional planning agency, Nantucket is incredibly fortunate to be able to have the planning board plan with a larger group, acting with the full authority and power and access to technical expertise of a regional planning agency. And that's really what this is about.
Okay,
Thank you.
moving on to committee report. We're gonna table the draft language of the enabling legislation, obviously, as we're going to have a special meeting. So moving on to the committee reports, I actually have one that I wanted to give for the Affordable Housing Trust. Chrissy asked me to include it for the agenda. Couple of highlights: Tacoma Green, the Select Board and Affordable Housing Trust have approved and executed the documents needed to close on Tacoma Green, a workforce housing project at 6 Fairgrounds Road and 4-Way Drive. The development will deliver 64 low and moderate income units to our community over the next 18 months. These units will help the town secure an additional 2 years of safe harbor from Chapter 40B development applications. Lease to Locals, the Affordable Housing Trust has awarded the Lease to Locals administration contract to PlaceMate and approved $550,000 appropriation for the program in fiscal year 2026. The select board will vote on this appropriation at its 12/17 meeting, which is Wednesday. Rooted Renters, the Affordable Housing Trust has contracted with PlaceMate also to research and develop a rental preservation program. The goal is to conserve existing year-round rentals by offering landlords a subsidy to continue renting year-round. While Lease to Local focuses on converting underutilized spaces into rentals, Rooted Renters will focus on preserving the year-round housing stock that we have. 2021 housing plan certificate production plan certification on December 1st, BOHLC approved certification of the town's housing production plan, confirming we've added 0.5% towards our SHI, which is safe subsidized housing indicator inventory. Bringing us to, sorry, I'm messing up on the acronym. Bringing us to 7% towards the 10% goal at the 12/17 select board meeting. Also, the board will request an amendment to certification tied to Tacoma Green, as we pointed out, to seek a full 2 years of safe harbor from Chapter 40B funds. Does anyone have any other committee reports? Okay.
I don't have a formal report, but just so everybody knows, the capital program committee, we have our last presentation on Wednesday, and then we'll be working on Aurore's, and we have to have them in by January 5th. So.
Clarification.
Yes.
Can you tell me who is the Rural Policy Advisory Committee?
Okay, bro.
Select board's gonna review the budget. Meeting Wednesday night, we postponed it from last week because we were exhausted after our island home, but, encourage everybody to come and hear this presentation about the proposed 2027 budget.
Just real quick, while we were sitting here, I got an email from the HLC, update on the regs, they are finalizing them. Expected to be released, this for seasonal communities, expected to be released early in the new year, so stay tuned for that.
I can just add one thing.
Yeah.
Just brought up about the Rural Policy Advisory Committee. And Megan probably doesn't see this yet, but she's attending markup from on Friday. And there's an agenda item at markup about the rural. Rural advisory policy. Whatever they're called.
Didn't Wendy do that?
Yeah, Wendy did, so I walked
Okay.
down. And, I don't think the government's made appointments to that yet. I think the group is still just operating sort of status quo. But they're still meeting.
Okay, announcements, we have an updated 2026 meeting schedule, it is posted on the website. Also, we have a joint meeting with the select board regarding the Cape Cod Bridges project on Wednesday, January 28th, 2025 at 26 at 5:30 p.m. Lauren. the last name. So Lauren, is it Lauren Barker? She's gonna present. She has a whole presentation she's gonna do. And she's done this
Louisa
presentation.
Paiwanski.
Yeah, believe that.
Louisa Paiwanski.
They've done the presentation with Bourne and some other communities, and so it's just, they wanna get out there and make sure everybody is aware of that.
And can I just add, Mike and Abby and I attended a presentation, an informal meeting actually, with Louisa and her team a few weeks ago, and it's very, very informative, so I would encourage everyone to make sure that you can attend this meeting and get informed on the project. It's gonna impact all of us.
Definitely, if you be there for that meeting, in Bruce, but, I'll look forward
Well, I
to
think-
hopefully watching that.
Right. Anybody wanna give me a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second. Okay, motion by Brooke, second by Christina. John,
Aye.
Dave,
Aye.
Brooke, hi, Mike,
Aye.
Christina,
Aye.
Hillary,
Aye.
Liza,
Aye.
I don't know. Matt.
Aye.
And then
like to get it.
I know, I keep getting it. And the chair votes aye. Thank you, everybody. We will see you at our special meeting to be deed.
So maybe next week.
Yeah.